Okay, along these lines, we're still thinking about disclosure. I want to ask you, a kind of provocative question. What's the most striking or astonishing statement you've heard from someone that, let's say, you believed had been working on UAP for a long time in classified environments, where they just kind of said, "Hey, look, Jim, like, this is what we know, or this is what it is, or I want you to think about it in the following way." Something that just stopped you in your tracks, or just kind of, gave you pause and you thought, "Oh, okay, that feels true." And also, I feel that I better listen to that, take that in, and use it to orient myself.
There were probably two statements, and I won't ascribe them to anybody. One was regarding my own experience, and a person saying to me, there might have been a more sinister element associated with it. And he didn't explain anymore, but I knew exactly what he was saying, and that there might have been involvement, or at least a knowledge of what happened, by other people in the government. So that was one thing that sort of threw me. And again, I don't know what to make of it. And the other thing was probably.
Well, but let's pause and make sure people understand what that means. So you're saying that, you had someone in, presumably the intelligence community, just say to you, "Okay, look, when things like this happen, sometimes people do follow up and look at the people who are having the experiences," something like that?
No.
Oh, okay.
This was more of a. When he said the word sinister, it sort of, it touched a nerve, because I had been reading. I mean, again, I don't want to get into this because it gets into, it gets into areas that I am not very well, read on, and I'm not sure that. I think it would cloud. I don't even know why I brought it up. It probably is clouds the water, and but let me go back to something somebody else said to me once that might be maybe more illustrative. Is the person said that when we were talking about what the government may or may not know, and the person basically said, "Well, what they know is indigestible," and I had mentioned this before in a podcast or two, and I knew automatically what that was, and once again, it's and I had a briefing by actually 4 people, but 3 of them whom but I'm not going to name their names. And when they talked to me about, they were talking to me about UAP in particular, although that came up, in some aspects of it, but they were talking to me about phenomena, attendant phenomena, corollary phenomena that were associated, that had a more relation to psychic stuff, right? And, and what have you, that not only our government was involved in, but what, foreign governments were doing. And it's surprising, you read a book, on something, and you say, well, okay, that's fascinating. But you have that veil there, right? It's just a book. The guy isn't, the government isn't saying this is true, but then you get 3 people that have more clearances than you do. And trust me, I had them all at the time, all. And except for code words, that I didn't need to know or something like that. And they come in and they tell you, oh yeah, sort of matter of factly sometimes, yeah, this is true. Yeah, when we did this, thing at this national lab, and this happened, and oh, by the way, we saw UAP while this was going on, and we have all this data, and we have the sensor data to prove it, and they're going on and on and on, and not just with one topic. They're talking, probably half a dozen different topics. So the veil then just drops, and you're left with, oh gosh, this is. So this really is real, right? I remember reading, and that in what was it, 1882, the British Psychical Society, conducted all these experiments. This is, I guess during the William James era, and they G.K. Chesterton was involved, and a lot of other people. Well, they basically, all intents and purposes, proved, that telekinesis was real, telepathy was real. I mean, these were scientists at the times, right? They were the best minds that Britain had, and they all were skeptical, and they all basically came out and said, nope. If you read the conclusions they come up with, this stuff is all real. So now you have, in the 21st century, our top scientists telling you, now this is actually very real. Now, some of it's highly classified because of who they used in the experiments and what they actually did and where they did it. So that changed me probably as much as the UAP experience I had or phenomenon. It just altered me because I trusted these people. I still trust these people. And then when I have experiencers, particularly scientists who are experiencers, we all know one, and they tell you their stories,
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
This is illustrative. Let's go back quickly as we're closing to the indigestible comment. You want to shed a little light on that?
I took it to mean that the explanation associated with UAP is not understandable / I don't want to say, I'll just say more shocking than anything else. And I took it also to mean, and I'm going back again, and I hate to keep going back to quantum mechanics, or because I'm not a scientist. I'm certainly not an expert on it in any way, shape, or form. But if you talk to a quantum physicist, I mean, I think they'll tell you the quantum field is very, very strange. And that there's that reality in and of itself is much, much different than we assume that it is. And I took that comment to mean that consensual reality is essentially that something that we all agree on because we all have the same senses, but we're not. But I think we all can agree that our senses, are limited. We all can agree that our brains simply cannot process the consciousness of daily life. We can't even begin remotely to understand how we drive a car with all the different things that have to happen on our little ecosystem, human ecosystem, that have to happen all the time for us to even get in the car, start it, and drive it down the road. And so I think what we used to call, I was a hippie back in the day, what we used to call awareness. You're always trying to develop awareness. And all that really means is going beyond what you normally see and seeing something else, right? It's what the function of art is, literature, art, how do you look at reality in a different way? And if you do it like Picasso did it, or you do it like Tolstoy did it, or even Kurt Vonnegut, or Shakespeare of all people, it's just, you tell a story, but you tell it in a way that's a much more illuminating. And so that's how I see this. I mean, it's opened my eyes to the fact that my little brain, probably is not going to be able to understand it, but at least I know that I know that. I don't know how else to put it.
Well, I can't think of a better way to end this. A beautiful statement, an insightful statement. And I say that as a scholar. I think that kind of statement of intellectual humility, that's just what we need. So Thank you for that. Yeah. And thanks for being with us. It's a great conversation. I hope we have a chance to follow up here some other time. I know our members who are here right now appreciate it. And I think a lot of people will benefit from the conversation. So thanks a lot, Jim.
Well, thank you very much. And hopefully I'll get out to one of your annual conferences sometime soon.
Okay, great.
Thanks,
you.
Peter. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great.
You're
It's
a great
fantastic.
host, by the way, and your questions are outstanding. I've been on a few podcasts. You did a great job.
Okay, appreciate that. Well, I'll take the compliment. And listen, so for those of you who want to become members who are watching this in the future, you can click on a link that I think is below. to join as members so that you can participate in these conversations live. And those of you who are here right now, live, who are members, we're going to continue the conversation, as you know, in the Zoom breakout sessions. So we'll see you there.